Now, for the sake of argument, let's remove psychology and mind and pick universe, which is a situation. We'll close section 4 and move on to section 5, which begins our storytelling. Once again, you can tell these are storytelling questions because they're in italics. And clicking on OS domain here brings up the storytelling equivalent of the structural question we just answered. It's going to ask the structuralist author, illustrate how the objective story centers around a situation or environment, universe. In other words, what is that situation? What do you as the author think it is? How does your audience know what it is? What is it in your story? To help you illustrate this point, you can look at all the other stories that have an objective story domain of situation, universe, and see what they did. You can look to context and see short examples of situations that might be the objective story domain, like a country under the thumb of an authoritarian dictator, or a submarine trapped under the ice. You can get a definition again of universe so you can see what it is conceptually, and then, as a structuralist writer, fill in how this is going to show up in your story, how it's actually going to appear. If you're an inspirationist writer, you will have filled in your storytelling here already, because remember, you're going to go to section 5, 6, and 7 first, and then you'd go back to the top to section 1 and start doing your story forming based on the words you've already written. However, once you've gone back to the beginning and structured your story, then you want to come down here and look at that structural choice that you made and refine what you had written to try and bring it into line a little better with what your structure turned out to be. Farther down in the list, you'll encounter a slightly different kind of question, the archetypal functions. Here, all of your characters will be listed, and you will be asked to choose what kind of an archetype each one will be, a protagonist, antagonist, etc. Now, there are many more characters that can be created in Dramatica that are much more complex than the archetypes, but in the story guide, it asks you to start by creating archetypal characters. In the Quick Start story guide, that's all you create. However, once you move into the Advanced story guide, you have the opportunity to create complex characters instead, if you'd rather. And with either story guide path, once you're finished and close the story guide window, you can then bop to any other part of the program, such as Build Characters, and modify those characters to make them less archetypal. The reason they're archetypal here is that it makes it a lot more simple and a much more quick path to go from concept to completion of a finished treatment for the new user. There are many more structural and storytelling questions you'll be asked than what we've covered already, but each of them follows pretty much the same format and has pretty much the same features that we've seen in our examples. But there's one last area we need to look at that's a little bit different before we complete our exploration of the story guide. So we'll close section 5 and move on to section 8.